Alright, after having to wait so long, Insomniac finally decided between one Spider-Man game and another to stealthily kinda release this. Not to say that there was any marketing, but not many people were expecting this. It came out right after the announcement came right after the announcement of the Miles Morales game. This port in particular for PC was done by the company Nixis. We'll say this. This port is a bit of a mess. It has a lot of cool options. Also, just to mention here, you can get a not just an easy difficulty, but one extra one that doesn't allow you to die in battle. Just to let you know, the game can also provide you separately a cheat for infinite health. So I'm just saying that this is a bit overkill. Um, Anyway, the what this board provides is a lot of options in terms of technical, tinkering. Depending on which GPU you have, your processor, if you want ray tracing on or not or off. There's a lot of cool customization, and there's not actually a benchmark type of movie that normally does this kind of thing. The image that you get behind tends to help that, and the initial cutscenes serves to help. And there are some interesting setups depending on your configuration that you can find online. Unfortunately, even with the more recent patches, this port is particularly prone to crash in specific segments depending on what you do. Let's just say that there's a lot of stuff that you're not seeing of me crashing and having to reboot the game automatically. Again, it's not to say that this is the worst port where Sony has ever put on PC. But I can tell there was a lot of work that had to be put into it.
It
You know.
is
Uh,
frustrating because, for the most part, the era of crappy Steam PC ports is more or less behind us. I mean, obviously, every now and again, we're
um,
still gonna get some here and there, but
Tech McCoy still holds the record of maintaining proudly that achievement, if you ask me. Also, is a custom for Sony recently. It comes with some accessibility options, including subtitle customization, which I do take advantage of, and also stuff for audio or the contrast between shades for people who need to have a better look. If you recall, this was nominated for Best Accessibility Features at the Game Awards that year, but lost, I think, to Forza, the Forza game, I think.
okay, what
Uh,
year was that one
oh,
so I
boy.
can check?
2021, 2022, one of these. But the thing that I was going to mention it at any point, but the thing that bothers me the most is that this was also nominated for Best Art Direction alongside Psychonauts 2, if I recall correctly, um, and lost to, um, God, I forgot, the game that the Dishonored team was making, Deathloop. For art direction, I'm sorry to say, Deathloop does not have anything particularly groundbreaking for art direction. But again, not the time. Let's begin. So, we begin in a cyberpunk dystopian city.
Members of the Resistance, report to your nearest intake facility immediately. We promise nothing nefarious will befall you.
If you see any frame rate dip, blame YouTube. My footage has been crisp for the most part anyway.
Resistance members, report to the VIP section of your nearest intake facility for compulsory behavioral modification.
Another thing that I
You'll
will need to
be
mention is
advised
that because this is a more modern Sony game, not all of them, but a lot of the cutscenes are mocapped, believe it or not. And this creates a bit of an uncanny valley effect, similar to how Sonic 06 handled them, because you can clearly tell when a character is moving in a mocap way instead of being animated properly, and creates, at least for me, a bit of a whiplash kind of effect. You'll be able to see it already in this cutscene.
Oh, Tio, you're gonna love this. So, yeah, like you mentioned, Rift Apart was nominated for Innovation and Accessibility in the Game Awards of 2021. It was pitted against Guardians of the Galaxy from Square Enix, The Veil from The Veil Shadow of the Crown from Falling Squirrel, and Far Cry 6 Ubisoft, but all of them lost to Forza Horizon 5.
Yes, no, I remember that because we also commented on that, and I do believe it was merited in that case because Forza Horizon 5 had something that this did not had audio description for specific things. So again, I was more baffled about the Best Art Direction award, given instead of Deathloop.
So
I don't remember if this scene was in one of the trailers or not, but it's fair to
Yeah,
establish.
get away from her, you bitch.
It's fair to establish one of our new characters introduced for this game, which was all over the marketing. Another Lombax, Rivet, voiced by Jennifer Hale.
what? Oh my god.
I'm really curious why they chose Jennifer Hale specifically. Usually for these new kind of characters, they bring usually a new type of voice actor, fresh blood, but instead Jennifer Hale is very, a veteran of the industry. I don't have a problem with her voice delivery, I'm just curious.
I wonder if it may have been a case where they were trying to find the right voice, but they couldn't, so they went with Jennifer Hale. Like, by the time of 2021, Jennifer...
And transition. Speaking of more voice acting, of course, because Jim Ward had retired by this point, we have someone else as work, but more in a second. Yeah, I know, Ratchet, I know.
What if everyone thinks we're washed up?
No,
So,
I don't really think so.
We will not need to perform any heroics. Unless you count smiling and waving.
Right.
Give a big welcome to the Grand Marshals of our...
Just in a
So
second.
Captain Quark is now voiced by Scott White.
Again, he's fine for what he wants to do. No G Ward, but again, you have to work with what you have. Pay attention a bit to Quark because in his initial sequence, I kind of like the touch of it. They had his model bob up and down a bit, similar to the classic Spyro NPCs.
Wow, haven't seen these guys in
Also, he's accompanied by returning Skid Marks and Rusty Pete. Okay, this is because the game wants to make a parallel and showcase, aside of Quark, a character from the original games and one from the future saga, because they're gonna have a counterpart in the ensuing chaos that is about to happen. I get what they were trying to do, especially because the pirate era was pirate stuff was particularly important for the future saga. But I'm sorry, you choose Rusty Pete over Tallwind for the future saga. What are you doing?
Yeah, like, as much as I like the pirates, even I'm like, what? Really? Not only that, I guess Rusty Pete is back to liking Ratchet since last
He's not even voiced anymore by Wally Wingard, but Jess Arnett instead. Not sure why, but trust me, he himself in the plot does not really do that much of Initial Parade. Speaking of which, Insomniac went out to say in the marketing that this will still be a game perfectly for newcomer, but we're basically just getting this recap at the beginning about the events of the first game and a pinch of the second plus a bit of the future saga, and that's it. Again, I can tell you that if no one had played any Ratchet Clank games before this, not even the reimagining, they will only get a very, very basic, type of explanation for them, which is a problem because this is the only game on PC of the franchise right now. Sure, you can make the argument that, someone who would buy this on PC will already be a fan of the franchise anyway, but you get what I mean. If you want to get a new audience, it would be a bit of a bundle.
It's like, as much as I love Crash Twinsanity, that would not be what I suggest that people start with Crash on, so that would be weird if that's the first thing that they would have
Oh,
played.
speaking of continuity bungling, listen to what Cork is about to say. We're creating the Care 1 Blarg invasion. And we get our first weapon, the combustor, I think it is. Oh, of course.
So, Tio.
Hold on, listen to this, what Cork is about to say. No, Quark, that's what happened in the reimagining. What's
Oops.
happening? Speaking, instead, here are the Thugs for Less, rebranded in Goons for Less. Yes,
Oh,
really.
yes, beautiful. Yes, changing your names to goons. That was the perfect strategy, guys.
Not to mention,
Ah.
it's a bit of a bad timing because this was before the gooning word started to be remembered for as a slang for masturbation.
Couple of
So,
things.
bounty on us?
The Japanese name for this game, it's called Rift Apart here, whereas in Japan it's called Ratchet and Clank Parallel Trouble.
I hope this is not a
Yeah, fair enough.
that
It,
works.
again, could work either.
And two, for the first time in quite a while, there's no TJ Fixman.
Well, remember, he had
again,
quit after the Regiment, the
I
reimagining.
don't even think he was even contacted. More on our part for the writing because there's a lot to unpack. All you need to know is that you can kind of tell that the finished product was rewritten a couple of times. But again, let's focus on what you have now because especially because
I would bet
the
Proggs
first
are behind this.
war that you are in, Megalopolis, focus on this set piece. And look, a big owl balloon.
No way! Nefarious has been retired longer than we have.
Get it? Cause, yeah, the last time we saw Nefarious, I believe, was in All for One.
Yeah.
Maybe he decided to settle down after realizing that he did like them after all.
You get
It
dialogue from Quark if you fall off the balloons.
No. If anything, Waves, you even get it's an option that they had to turn off. The game has by default turned on an option that prevents you from jumping off of bottomless pits.
Huh, I didn't
Also,
know that was on
okay.
default.
Here's an interesting thing. You will if you pay attention, you notice immediately, and that is it reminded me very on this. But you can tell that there's a lot of models being recycled from the 2016 reimagining, and the game tries to have a clever type of excuse to have. Oh, yeah, the Goose protests are now using the Robomods that were part of Wreck Industries. Yes. Really.
Again, isn't that something more from the reimagining? What's going on here, Insomniac?
Again, the Robomods were a thing also in the original games anyway. I'm talking about just recycling the models. Again, you'll be able to see. Although I can tell that the Goose for Less models are a bit different from the ones of Into the Nexus. Personality-wise, you may notice that they dropped the Russian accent for some reason, and now they have a surfer dude role kind of attitude. Not sure what's on that, but to be fair, they're mercenaries to begin with. You can say new recruits, so can come and go as they please.
I guess maybe for the sake of this bout, we can say they're actors, so they aren't the same as the real
Oh no,
deal.
they're not, Jova. Remember, these ambushes was not scripted, as Clank and Ratchet noted.
But hey, good old Quark is able to improvise with this still.
You also might have noticed we're on a recreation of the Great Clock. Again, this parade was supposed to recollection of
Oh, yeah,
past events. So.
I remember that part of the game where Ratchet just kept getting randomly ambushed by people.
I do wonder if part of the script may have been repurposed from a time when this was supposed to be a sequel to the reimagining, which is why they left in a little bit of continuity snarls that
Not
line
sure
up
about
more
that.
with the reimagining.
Also, neat detail, if you manage to damage the dropship before Ratchet says we need to destroy it, the damage will still be, properly labeled. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, again, from what I can tell, it sounds like this was something that Insomniac were passionate about, and again, while there were still some executive mandates, it doesn't seem like they were strong-armed nearly as much as they were with the reimagining, for obvious reasons, of course. Again, not to say that this game went completely unscathed, we'll get to that later, but unlike the reimagining, this feels like something that they fully wanted to make and didn't have as much disgruntled natures with the writers.
Alright, we're at the end of the parade, which means it's time to fulfill that stinger at the end of Into the Nexus, if you remember it. With a touching speech from Clank here about to hear.
To the chase. Ratchet, I do not know where I would be without you. You are my closest friend,
Ratchet,
My
will
teammate.
you marry me?
and you have given up a
No,
god to...
it's not. It was about that.
I have repaired
There you go. The Dimensionator is now being revealed to be a more convenient gun instead of the helmet format.
Is this a good idea, given all the trouble that
Well,
thing has caused? And oh
I'd
yeah,
say no.
right, because it can get stolen.
It's Dr. Niff. What the fuck have we done to his eyes?
I didn't expect to see.
Okay, I don't mind the color scheme. It's a bit different from the one of A Crack in Time and All for One. But why did they change his eyes to
nefarious.
bright yellow instead of a red?
I think the idea is to give him more of a cuckoo gland sort of expression.
And they do remember the continuity because he has still the scar from what happened in Crack in Time. But let's see what pops up.
Oh my god, it's fish.
Can't anyone print instruction manuals anymore?
No, they don't.
All I wanted to do was simply steal a Dimensionator device. It should have been simple.
Oh, this is a good time to mention also about the score. New composer, Mark Mothersbaugh, and while it's not super memorable, I'd say it does a better job in trying to, rouse up the action
well, actually,
during the final moment.
there's two composers.
Okay, who's the other one?
Mark Mothersbaugh, as we mentioned, and Wataru Hokoyama.
Okay.
Beforehand, in terms of video games, he was involved in games like Africa with a K,
Yeah, the Safari Simulator.
Resident Evil 5,
Not bad.
Quickly, whatever he has
Ace Combat Joint Assault, so among other games like Soul Sacrifice, Knack,
Okay.
Halo 2 Anniversary and Halo Wars 2 as a conductor and orchestration, and most recently, Ghost of Yotei.
I guess it's a requirement that almost every new action games from Sony needs to have an Uncharted-esque set piece.
So, this game basically combines a lot of what worked from the reimagining with its more cinematic elements, with the tried and true classic gameplay you more expect from the
Pretty
original
much,
series of Ratchet and Clank. Again, sounds like a winning combination. And apparently, sales-wise, it was, since this was the second biggest launch in the series behind the remake from 2016. And before anyone takes that to mean, oh, the reimagining was totally in
Okay.
that.
Here's something weird. This Zircon here is the one that sells you weapon, voiced again by Elias. Again, there's something more going on. But I think this was a bit of a mistake, because we needed to have... I argue we should have introduced the shopkeeper later, rather than now. I'll explain more later. But the cool thing is that each weapon comes with an introduction, and if you pay attention, Ratchet is wearing the proto-suit from the 2016 game to demonstrate that. Told by me, Zircon Jr., who is now voiced by Richard Steven Horwitz, and I'm sorry, he's trying so hard to do the whole, over-the-top announcer shtick.
It's weird, I mean, I love Richard Horvitz, but why would you have him do Zircon Jr. of all people? He's never done that character before. And that is clearly not what Zircon Jr. has ever sounded like before either.
Now, that's the thing.
Has he had a botched patch or something?
That's also the thing. It would make sense, considering what's about to happen in the end of this part and the beginning of the next, technically. But that is connected to why I don't think giving you a weapon shop right now would be ideal. I think it would have been better if they just gave you one of these weapons, like the one I picked now, the Shatter Bomb. Again, just trust me on this, I will explain it later.
Of course. But yeah, like I was saying, before anyone tries to say, oh, the reimagining had the biggest launch, keep in mind, that was the biggest launch. If I recall correctly, the sales fell off pretty quickly after that first launch for the reimagining, whereas with the part...
I think Sonia mentioned what said that this was still profitable in the end, so at the very least there is that. But ever since the team had set up a couple of troubles, mainly, again, whatever the fuck happened with Spider-Man 2, and the they were included in the companies mentioned in the voice acting strike.
Yeah, needless to say, while Ratchet and Clank is back as far as we know it, they're back in the sense that, hey, this game was successful, yet we're still praying for a sequel. Again, I do understand that the devs probably won't have control over what Sony tells them to do, but man, lack of transparency is always going to be one of the most frustrating things when being on the fan end side of a game series and whatnot, because you are literally wondering, will we ever see these characters again, despite the fact that this game did earn its sales. Wasn't perfect, but I would definitely say that this game definitely got Ratchet and Clank back on track proper, which is saying quite a bit. Although, hey, time for a little throwback to All for One, because it's time for a city chase battle with Nefarious.
Well, kinda sorta. Ratchet is about to do something in order to stop the situation. Yeah. So the goal of Nefarious is use the Dimensionator to find a dimension where he wins.
I mean, shoot.
But Ratchet decides to sacrifice the integrity of the Dimensionator for the sake of stopping him. Again, it's a bit rash as a decision, but you can see, him wanting to choose safety of the universe. Although, as you can see,
Oops.
yeah, things may get a bit wonky.
We may have done the opposite of saving the universe here.
The bridge is shot. There has
This
to be
introduces a
another way
new mechanic which was plastered also all over the marketing.
Quartz in your glove.
Using a fragment of a phase quartz of the Dimensionator to connect to a reef feather and instantly getting there without any loading screens in order to demonstrate the power of a PS5.
Beautiful.
I was actually looking forward to this game based off stuff like this.
Again, while it's not technically a tech demo, you can tell that a lot of the features were made to showcase how the console, could do. I don't remember if Insomniac did mention if this was a case of this was in development for the PS4 but got delayed to get a better experience on PS5, similar to what DK Bonanza did, basically. It wouldn't surprise me, but again, no official news as far as I remember. But it's worth noting that they did mention during the early months of release that, it would not be possible to get this on PC, without having a lot of problems. And not only this eventually, got released, and yes, like I said, a bit of a faulty port, but still functioning for what he wanted to do. But it's also Steam Deck compatible. So, no, once again, a lot of PR answers to just trying to keep people buying it just on the PS5.
Pretty much. Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I have not felt the need to actually get a PS5 because, at this point, it's more or less a certainty that most of the games that matter will eventually come to PC, because Sony have gotten themselves stuck in a cycle where even where a game makes tons of money, they're taking too long.
More recycled assets. I mean, Sand Sharks. Sorry. Go on.
Oh, yeah. So, Sony's games are so high budget and take so long at this point that these days they have to put out PC ports or ports to other consoles to basically make back some costs because, well, new releases are taking too long, essentially. Does beg the question, though. Again, it's nice that you brought Rift Apart to the PC, but dudes, what's taking so long with, bringing, like, I don't know, the HD trilogy on? The actual start? Or shoot, even, like, report a lot of the future series and whatnot.
I don't know. Again, it really is a mystery on the logic behind these kind of things.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Trevor, that everyone's a PC gamer, so...
Well, I mean, the point
Well,
is
it's connected to what I was saying before, Dweebs.
Yeah.
And again, it's more of a case of Sony currently had no plans to re-release the titles anyway, so they are destined to become abandonware when stuff like the servers of the PS3, PlayStation Network go down, and the only way available is, again, the streaming cloud service of the PS Now, which, as we mentioned, is not particularly optimal. Yeah, let's get to Nefarious first. You might also notice that there's a run button. Pressing R1 allows you to sprint. There is a reason behind that. Try to a gadget we will acquire later, but it's kind of a new thing for the franchise too.
Beautiful,
Um,
isn't it?
my point being is that it probably would be easy for them for a re-release purpose to include also PC and not just PS5, also because of Rift Apart receiving this very port in the first place. Like I said, because otherwise Sony is still a lot of franchises that do have games on PC, but without their previous baggage on it, like the God of War games, or this, or even Uncharted, technically, as I mentioned a couple of times. Stuff like The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, or Days Gone do not have a problem, or Horizon, because they have had fresh starts, or they had all their games properly available. But others, unfortunately, do not share the same luxury. There you go.
And then you've also got and then you've also got
breathe with me.
And then you've also got players who are, for the most part, content with their PS4s and don't see the super need to get a PS5. But hey, if they have a PC that can run this stuff, that's a way to reach a market as well with them, essentially. Ergo players like me, essentially. So,
Alright, let's get the taxi to Nefarious.
So speaking of all the cool stuff this game has, I guess at this point we can consider Insomniac the new Naughty Dog in terms of, showcasing what a system can do, because I don't think Naughty Dog have gotten around to making their own brand new PS5 game.
But would you be interested in another release of a Last of Us game?
Gee, God, look.
Wasn't there that new space game they were making?
Yes, but we don't know when it will be released. It's called Heretic something, I forgot.
We're a good ways away into the PS5's life cycle, and not much heard of that, which is, again, for Naughty Dog, very weird. Remember, again, they were typically the guys who first showcased this is what a system can really do. Even if it wasn't the most incredible game, they were the ones that showcased it, but it seems like Insomniac's taken up that job because,
Sure, how could you forget Knack for the PS4? That was the real game that showcased what the console could do.
Yes, it was so great that it beat Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U for about a week.
Again, Jova, regardless of the quality of its story and its actual gameplay, the features that it did were tied to the new stuff that the PS4 could do, and it was a launch title,
That is a fair point, but again, the sad thing is it's probably not going to be remembered that well or fondly, but yes, that is a point. Knack did show what the system could do. And then Knack 2 came out and not as much that purpose there. I mean, I appreciate that Knack 2 was trying to improve on things, and it technically did improve on some things, while also making some things potentially worse.
Time for our first boss fight. And yeah, this throwaway line serves to say what happened to Lawrence, because Michael Bell is also retired as a voice actor, so he's not gonna show up here.
Kind of weird that they would just retire the character, whereas Quark, they obviously did.
Technically no, he shows up in the credits, but those include steals that are not voiced. Like I said in the past, I wouldn't mind recasting him and using someone like Alan Crossdale for the role. But I get what they wanted to potentially, overcome the issue in the stealthiest way, especially because, like I said, I did notice as I was playing that the plot clearly went to a couple of rewrites, so it's kind of a thing that the game does not have the luxury of trying to take too many risks in doing that kind of stuff. Let me put it that way.
I'm curious, in terms of these rewrites, I'm assuming this is stuff that you gauged from the game itself rather than insider intel. So how obvious?
It's mostly noticeable towards the end. In some case, we get to the end, it feels rushed, but it feels like when we arrive to the end, it feels like there is characterization missing from a couple of key characters, if you ask me.
I do know that this game does have a bit of... what's a way to put it? I kind of call it story puzzle piece syndrome, where you can tell that this is a piece of the puzzle, but not the full puzzle in a sense.
Again, more in the future parts technically, because again, there will be time to talk about those where we section where not much is happening. For the time being, as you can see, the first boss fight is fairly doable, but you might have noticed that compared to the previous game, this one is a bit more punishing in terms of attacks, and that's because the game will introduce tools to help you circumvent those that were present before.
We're going to a dimension where I always win, so you can finally know how
Well,
it
shit.
feels.
I'm going to assume that the Dimensionator heard me!
Well, to be fair, no, he did use the console to program that. Remember, Clank changed it so it doesn't have the vocal activation anymore.
And part of the automatic loading system is showcasing how we don't just go to different sections of a level, but we can literally go to completely different levels. No loading times required.
Behold the power of SSD.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Oh shit. Damn.
Oh, I'm sorry, we seem to have stepped
There
into
was a phase
Astrobot.
And now, Sea of Thieves?
Yes.
Sure, why not?
So, I'm sure it would be nice to have Talwyn's input on this. Oh, wait, right. We kind of left Talwyn behind again. After the game where we emphasized how much we'd be together because she lost 2 beloved members from her...
So, after all the fuckery going on, our main characters wake up, well, get properly thrown here.
Let's see. It's raining, the sky's purple. Yeah, looks evil enough.
This is the part where you lose.
Hardly, Ratchet, we just began the game.
Ratchet, the Dimensionator.
Uh-oh. Huh. Move! Move!
Well, not that movie would have helped them much.
And everyone died. That was ripped apart. What a short
Well,
game.
damn, only half an hour, Jesus.
It's
Wait,
a tech
I got.
demo.
Hang on, wait, but wait a minute. I spent like 50, 60 quid on it. It only lasted half an hour.
Sorry,
re-
Dweebs, no refunds.
The rest of the game is bonus features. We have made our most expansive museum, now paying homage to the brave dynamic duo that are now dead, I'm afraid. No refunds.
Yeah, and here's the segment for the deleted scenes, aka 2/3 of the game.
Alright, tune in for the next part to see what the fuck will happen now. See
What
ya.
next part? What, this is the end?
See ya.
See you then.